even if my partner decides to connect with someone else, I'm almost like, great. How was it? I don't feel betrayal. Why should I cock block that connection experience with my partner? Now, I'm not saying that I want my partner to sleep around or cheat on me. That doesn't mean she wants to build a life with someone else. It just means she's human.
I'm John Kim, a licensed therapist who used to be a miserable fuck before going on a hero's journey and turning expired relationships into revelations. I use my story to help others come with you instead of at you, unrehearsed on purpose, because self-help doesn't have to be polished or complicated, just honest.
On today's episode, we're going to do a deep dive on jealousy. And I always like to share a personal story. I'm thinking about this time I was married. I was fairly young. I think I was like in my early 30s. I was a screenwriter. She was an actress. And she had booked a pretty big movie. The movie wrapped. And she called me and she said, "Hey, listen, are you cool with me going to this after party hangout? The whole crew, all the actors, the whole crew is going to be there." I said, "Where is it?" And she said, "Oh, it's at the hotel of one of the actors." And I remember being jealous. I remember feeling threatened, insecure. And I was like, "Hey," and we had just gotten married. And I said, "Do you think that's appropriate for like a married woman?" If you're a woman listening to this and you're very activated, I get it. And also I was, young, insecure. And, I think part of my reaction was my own shit in that she was doing very well as an actress. And I was like, she was on the up and up. And I was frustrated and I was not selling. I was miserable and lying with desperation. I was lonely. Also, that relationship was very lopsided. I put her on a pedestal. So I just kind of revolved around her and her life. And so looking back, of course, that was ridiculous. I mean, she didn't even have to ask me. She could have just went and said, "Hey, this is where I'm at. I'm safe. I'll be home later." Right. And of course, today I'm 52. So if my partner today said, "Hey, I'm going to, or can I go to, actually, not even can I, but are you cool if I go to this party as part of this, I don't know, say retreat, and the person running the retreat is going to be there. He's an author." I would be like, "Yeah, go. Absolutely. Have a great time." Even if my partner today was like, "Hey, also, my ex-boyfriend's gonna be there," I would still be like, "Cool. I know the stories of her and her exes, and I would be totally okay." And I'm not just saying that to like be all Mr. Secure guy. I definitely have insecurities, but I wouldn't be jealous. I would be supportive. And I think one, of course, it's trust, and of course, it's trusting the relationship with your partner. But also, I think today I don't find myself getting jealous, not only with my intimate relationship, but also with like friends or just anything like jealous and envy. I don't feel a lot of it. Of course, I compare myself, and of course, there are things that I want that I don't have, and I'm working toward, right? But this whole jealousy concept, I don't resonate much with it anymore. And I think it has to do with one, me being older and surrendering to a lot of things and not getting caught up in controlling, wanting, like someone's behavior or their truth being tied to my worth, right? That I have a lot more distance with. And so even if my partner decides to connect with someone else, I'm almost like, great. I don't feel betrayal. And I think listen, I'm also totally birdwalking here, but I'm off on a tangent. But I almost feel like we're on this planet for a short period of time, right? We're human. We're going to be attracted to people. We're going to connect to people. And that's just life. Why should I cock block that connection experience for my partner? Now, I'm not saying that I want my partner to like sleep around or cheat on me. And I'm not saying that I want her to go behind my back or do things where I feel betrayed. Of course, that would break trust. But I'm just saying that, yes, she's going to be attracted to other people. She's going to have connections with other people. That doesn't mean she wants to build a life with someone else. It doesn't mean she wants to sleep with someone else. It doesn't mean she wants to be intimate with someone else. It just means she's human. And I think what helps me is I think about myself, right? As I'm just being in this world, of course, I'm going to find someone attractive. Of course, I'm going to find a connection to someone, or that doesn't mean also that I want to do life with that person. Doesn't mean that I want to like have sex with that person. And as human, yes, we flirt a little bit, right? It's all about the intention, right? What is your intention? You're just a flirtatious human. there's chemistry or banter with someone and you're just talking, I don't know. I don't see much of a problem with that as long as you feel safe and you trust your partner. Now, there's gonna be a lot of people who do have a problem with that. There's gonna be a lot of people who are like, no, that's not right, especially if you're married. That's your truth, and that's okay too. I'm just expressing my story where I'm at in my relationship with things like jealousy. So here's what I do know. So jealousy is a normal feeling. I want to normalize jealousy. It's the toxic behavior that comes after the feeling that can be unhealthy and destructive. Whether you experience jealousy a lot or have had partners in the past that were jealous a lot, or maybe you're with someone now who's jealous a lot. What's important is that we explore what's underneath that. What's underneath the feeling? This is always the key to unlock anything and to just start to heal. And if you don't understand yourself, you're not going to be able to heal, right? You're not going to be able to be on the path of growing. Understanding is really one of the first dominoes. It's foundational. It's the groundwork. And a lot of people don't understand their jealousy because they react from it, or if they're in a relationship with the partner who's jealous, they can somehow be convinced that it's okay because their jealousy is a measure of their love, right? Because they love me so much, it really impacts them. They get jealous. So then you kind of minimize the behavior, or feel that the unhealthy behavior, the controlling behavior is okay. In my case, that story I just shared, instead of confronting and looking at my own jealousy and inadequacy, I hid behind what I thought was appropriate behavior for husband and wife. So I kind of like used that as a shield, or as leverage. So let's break down some common core wounds that jealousy hits. Being replaced, obviously that's a big one, right? This person is going to find someone better. Feeling inadequate, and that's definitely a big part of was a big part of my jealousy in my early 30s. I didn't have a life. I didn't have a sense of self. I didn't have a purpose, and so I felt very inadequate. I also didn't have a paycheck. I wasn't bringing home the bacon, as they say, and I didn't contribute a lot to our financial stability, which made me feel less of a man, which made me feel like, oh, she's going to find someone better, richer, who's going to bring more to the table. So yes, feeling inadequate, feeling abandonment, right? Or fear of abandonment, unresolved betrayal. If you have a history of being betrayed, this is definitely going to be activating, right? You're going to be on high alert if anything that your partner does makes you feel like betrayal is coming, right? I want you to reframe jealousy. Jealousy is a signal, not a sin. Jealousy is a signal. It's a sign. Imagine if your body had a gauge for something to look at. And when that meter goes up, it's like, okay, this is important. You should look at this. Well, this is what jealousy is. It's that dial turning, saying, hey, you might want to look at this because you're having some heated feelings, and there's something underneath these feelings that you may want to look at because there's a wound there. There's something unresolved. There's also false beliefs that are happening that you may not even be aware of. And once you're aware of the false beliefs, then you will understand, and you will create distance, you will heal, or start to heal. Invite self compassion. Jealousy is not a weakness. I know a lot of people who feel jealous feel like, oh, I'm jealous. That means I'm weak, and they like white knuckle it, or they label it, or they line it with shame, or, oh, I'm a piece of shit, or I'm whatever. And you got to stop doing that. Jealousy is not a weakness. It's a wound showing itself because it wants to be healed. It is the signal for you to look at something. When have you felt unworthy, forgotten, or unlovable? Can you see the connection between when you felt unlovable, unworthy, forgotten, and then also the feeling of jealousy? Is there a connection there? Your brain's storytelling. Some of the stories your brain may be saying is that they're pulling away because of how they're acting, or who they're with, or what they're wearing, or how they're like whatever, right? Whatever you quote unquote have a problem with, or whatever that makes you jealous, or maybe they're following people on Instagram that you don't want them to follow, or whatever, right? You might think, oh, because of that, your brain's now storytelling and telling you they're pulling away, or they're going to leave me, right? These are all false beliefs. They like someone more than me. or I'm not enough. I'm not enough is a big one. And these are not truths, the trauma stories. So it's important to be aware of what story your brain is telling yourself. I like the term emotional hallucinations. You're having an emotional hallucination. Can you? I was just thinking about when I was on the phone with my ex-wife, and she was saying, "Hey, do you mind if I go to this rap party? You know, it's one of the actors' hotel rooms. I got all jealous and shit." And implied very kindly, but implied that that was not appropriate behavior for a married couple. When that happened, if she had said to me, "Hey, John, listen, you're having an emotional hallucination." You're having an emotion. I just want you to just look at this. You're having an emotional hallucination. These people are safe. We're just hanging out. There are women here, men here, the whole crew's here. Of course, at that time, I would have been reactive. I would have been very defensive and, angry. But if she meant it sincerely, I think me today would be like, oh, shit, you're right. It is a mirage. I am reacting from something that I am seeing that isn't true. I'm seeing fucking ghosts. It's an emotional hallucination. It is not truth. Yes, I see that. Thank you for pointing that out. And it's also something I need to own. Let's label the story. Is this a true observation or a fear based narrative from my past? And I gotta say, this isn't just about jealousy, but any kind of reaction that you're having, whether you're getting in a conflict with your partner or a friend, and you're feeling very reactive, and you're saying shit that you don't mean. It's coming from somewhere, right? This is a good question to ask yourself. The belief that you're reacting from, right, which is usually a false belief. And the way to investigate that is ask yourself, is this true, like a true observation? Is this thing that I'm assuming really happening, or is it a fear-based narrative from my past? Usually, I would say 4 out of 5 times, it is a fear-based narrative from your past. Encourage honesty, not judgment, when it comes to not just yourself, but just in general. Encourage honesty, seek truth, not judgment. If you're judgmental, if you're judging yourself or your partner, if there's any kind of judgment, you're kinking curiosity, right? You can't judge and be curious at the same time. So you're defining, and that definition may be false. And then you're pulling from a false definition, which is the reaction, right? That's when you start throwing chairs and changing logs and shit, right? So you have to start allowing room for truth and stop judging. You have to name it without shame. Say I'm feeling jealous. It's not a weakness. I'm human. That's okay. Don't blame. Don't accuse. I would even also tell my partner, hey, listen, I'm feeling like, let's go back to my example. She calls me, hey, it's a cool fight, rap party, friends, blah, 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 at an actor's hotel. If I had said, it's your life. Of course, you could do whatever you want, but I'm feeling jealousy. I'm feeling jealousy right now, and I don't want to put it on you, but I'm just being honest. That's how I feel. And let's say she held that space. Let's say she was like, "Oh man, I totally understand. I know how you feel." Just to reassure you, nothing's gonna happen, or she may say a few things or whatever. And of course, it's not really her job to reassure. But let's say she offered that. It's like she would have talked me through it. I would have realized where that stuff was coming from. And then I think me being vulnerable and saying, hey, I'm feeling jealousy would actually make her feel more safe and closer to me, as opposed to me saying, we just got married like a husband and wife should act. Like I don't think we should be in each other's hotel rooms. Right. As I'm saying that, I'm like cringing because it's so I don't want to, okay. I don't want to judge or label my past self, my younger self, but that response would have made her closer to me and engage in a honest conversation instead of feeling controlled, grabbed, right? It would have made her feel held, not grabbed, right? And then I think through that conversation, we could have just had a short conversation on the phone where I think I would have been okay with it. Even at that age, early 30s, lacking tools and sense of self. Had I said, or had I just been honest and said, hey, listen, I'm feeling a little jealousy. I don't know where it's coming from. Like, if I put that on the table, and it requires vulnerability and strength, of course, but if I had done that, it would have changed the whole conversation, which also would have changed probably how I felt about the situation. And then that would have changed her actually being there instead of feeling guilty. And there would have been less resentment, right? And that's just one moment. I just remember that one moment, but there was probably, hundreds of those kind of situations and moments, right? All right, track it back. Ask, when have I felt this before? Because if you're like, "Oh, I feel this all the time." And I have also felt it in so many other relationships. Oh, it's always been a fight. Okay, well, the common denominator is you, and it's still happening. So chances are you're part of this. And maybe not, the whole thing, but you are contributing to this feeling, this behavior, this pattern in your relationships, right? So that's again a signal, right? Journal or mentally note some past moments when it comes to when you have felt this before, and what did you do with that feeling? And what you did with that feeling, is that something that you want to continue? Did you like that? As I'm telling you my story of that, of course, that's not who I want to be. It's not who I am. And I did not like that. I didn't like that part of myself that was controlling and grabby, because I was feeling jealousy that I didn't want to own. Ask yourself, ask for what you actually need. This is so important. You're going to get a lot of this in couples therapy from your therapist. Your therapist, couples counselor therapist is going to say, hey, look at your partner, ask your partner what you actually need, right? What is underneath, whatever the fight or what you're angry about. What is it that you actually need? Going back to my example, I needed reassurance. I needed to know that she wasn't looking for a new husband. I needed to know that I mattered. As I just said that, I felt, wow, I felt emotion, and I kind of felt like crying because I mean, shit, don't we all want to know that we mattered? I was thinking about my younger self in my early 30s and who I was at that time, so scared. And I just wanted to feel like I mattered. I wanted that from my wife at the time. I wanted that from Hollywood, 'cause I was a starving artist pursuing screenwriting. I felt invisible in my early 30s in LA, and I just wanted to be mattered. I just wanted to feel like I mattered. And then you ask yourself, like, how much of that is on you? And for you to work on whatever you need to work on to feel that you matter. I mean, how many people can actually give you that, right? And is it their responsibility? So instead of interrogating someone, ask yourself what you actually need. Can you help me feel closer right now? Hey, can you hold this space for me while I tell you something? It's like, what is it that you need? Connection dissolves insecurity faster than control ever will. Write that on a little sticky note and put that in your back pocket. Connection dissolves insecurity faster than control ever will. Think of control as a crowbar. Put those two together, right? Control as a crowbar. Right? We're trying to control whether it's a situation or a person or whatever it is, employee. When you're trying to control, you're taking a crowbar to the relationship and you're pushing people away. Connection actually creates bridges. And to connect, you have to show yourself. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be honest, not just with the other person, but with yourself. So create jealous, safe relationships. What I mean by that is, can your relationship hold space for jealousy without imploding? Can the relationship be jealous safe? I would say most relationships aren't. People start getting jealous and it cracks the container. The relationship isn't jealous safe because it hasn't been built that way. There are lies and hiding and doing life around people. People aren't fully themselves or honest or transparent, right? The container of the relationship isn't strong enough to hold jealousy. If your relationship is strong enough to hold jealousy, that's amazing. That's two people really putting work into that container. And I gotta say, I've been with Vanessa for 7 years, and we really work hard. I'm proud of the container we have built, and of course, it's not perfect, and there's some cracks, and we're constantly working on ourselves and the container. But maybe that's part of why I don't think I'd be jealous today, or that I don't have a relationship much with jealousy. Maybe it's because of the container that we built, right? Maybe she's a part of this. I mean, of course, she's a part of this. She's contributed to me feeling safe. I feel like we have built a kind of a jealousy safe relationship. Love isn't the absence of jealousy, it's the presence of honesty. Love isn't the absence of jealousy, it's the presence of honesty. Let me give you a reframe, another reframe. Jealousy isn't a test, it's a teacher. Jealousy is not proof that you're broken, it's proof that you're human. And every time it shows up, You get to learn more about yourself, your fears, your boundaries, your communication, your healing path. Here's a mantra for you. I don't need to control them. I need to trust myself. Oh, if someone had said that that night in our little Hollywood apartment, my broke ass, insecure, newlywed husband, newlywed? Does that make sense? Sitting in the kitchen with I was on a phone. This is how old it was. The phone was, I remember because the phone was on the wall. It was like before cell phones, or I think there were flip phones, of course, but I think I was talking on a fucking like a phone from the 80s. It was because I remember it was on the wall and I was holding it in my hand and it was like a plastic. Oh, wow. I just realized how old I am and how old this was when it happened, but also how fast we are moving in this world. Anyway, at that time, if a little angel or someone said to me, "You don't need to control her. You need to trust yourself," I would have been like, "Shit." And then I would have been like, "I don't think I trust myself. Oh, if I trusted myself, then maybe I'd be less controlling. Oh, shit. What does that look like? How do I get to a place where I trust myself? Well, I got to build something. I got to have a better relationship with myself. I got to have a sense of purpose and a sense of self." And you know what I'm saying? It would just, it would have opened up a whole can of worms that would have seen all the holes and wounds in myself and like how much I needed to grow. All right. I want to end with this. The next time jealousy flares up, don't try to stuff it down or scream it out. Invite it to speak. Oh, that is good. And invite it to speak. So, like jealousy, like if it was, a living, breathing thing, talk to me. Why are you showing up? What is the feeling behind this or beneath this, right? Instead of reacting at your partner, invite the jealousy to speak. Then respond, not from a place of fear, but a place of growth, from a place of who you want to be. Anyway, thank you for listening. Jealousy is a huge, huge topic and something that we all experience as a feeling like hunger, like being horny, like feeling happy, joy. I mean, jealousy is just a human feeling. It's what we do with it, right? That is going to be what breaks the relationship or produces glue. Jealousy can also be a great catalyst to you and your growth. If you're someone who is always jealous, that is telling, and that is a great place to start to explore your relationship with self. It's a call to action if you're always jealous in relationships. Thank you for listening. Be well. Hey, if you think that a friend needs to hear this, share it.